We are no strangers to destruction on this channel, and over the years we've become bona fide experts in the field of destroying airsoft guns. But in this video, we're taking the carnage to a new level by introducing more firepower than ever before. Yes, we're finally bringing out the 50 BMG, and we're at a new location suited for it: Rob's backyard. With a little renovation to unearth the small firing range that used to exist on this property, using some creativity once we ran out of chainsaw gas, we'll make room for our special brand of activities. We'll take a test shot from this 308-ish Enfield, and although the response from the target is quite unspectacular, it seems like we're ready to break the seal on the expansive collection of cheap airsoft pistols I've gathered over the years. We've been through this enough times though that I wanted to hone in on one particular model. In the last video, we featured a trio of these and found that whatever sublime composite they're made of makes for a magical display of rapid, aggressive disassembly. So obviously, I went and bought a bunch more. We now have 13 of these impressively fragile works of art, and they are not going to survive until sundown. Since we've been through all this before, we're not starting off with a wimpy little 22 this time. We're going straight to an American classic, the 45 ACP 1911. Not incredibly powerful, but that big bullet is ready to kick off this video's action.
Fire when ready!
Yep, that did the trick, and left just a few recognizable chunks sitting against the berm. So, for the main event, how about a closer look at what happened at 3,500 frames per second? Check out the lackadaisical ejection of the magazine as the lower half of the pistol flies off towards the horizon. And we're not done yet. We had a second high-speed camera rolling at 7,800 frames per second. That's worth a little frame-by-frame action to peep the smoke escaping ahead of the bullet, the dissipating flame front of burning gases, and that lead slug flying out of the frame like it didn't just pass through 8 inches of plastic. Moving on to bigger and better things, or at least bigger things, this time we have the legendary 50 AE Desert Eagle stepping up to the plate. And boy, does it look primed to hit a home run. We're left with just a handful of chewed up pieces, and thanks to an unexpected visitor, we have a nice timescale reference for exactly how rapidly the gun was reduced to those sparse remains. With 4 times the kinetic energy at the muzzle, it's hard to miss the difference versus the 1911. The dancing shards left in the wake of an explosion of force never fail to impress. We can go frame by frame again, but this one is so fast, everything is pretty much reduced to a blurry mess. The BBs launching out of the magazine are pretty cool though. So where do we go from here? There's one more pistol on the table, though it's a bit different than the others. This Lone Eagle, big brother of the Desert Eagle in at least a marketing sense, fires a 308 Winchester rifle cartridge. It does have an aggressive muzzle brake to dissipate the forward-directed blast, but also a short enough barrel that not all of the powder is done burning by the time the bullet is long gone, so it's hard to say how destructive of a result we should expect from it. Well, destructive enough, I'd say. The bullet is gone in a hurry, and with it a large proportion of our poor unsuspecting target. Though the remnants of the pistol grip do show off with some spinning flare. To satisfy my own curiosity though, how different is an identical cartridge out of a slightly longer barrel with a simple cone instead of that elaborate muzzle brake? At first it was hard to say, but when scrounging for debris, we could only find a few small bits, so the high speed will have to tell the story. The first word that comes to mind is fast, even when slowed down more than twice as much. The results are only really clear when doing a side-by-side comparison. The Lone Eagle bullet passes right through the front of the pistol, while the Enfield blasts the front of the target to bits and throws them backward in a somewhat more directed manner. But how does that scale as we step up to the extreme end of things and finally bring this bad mamma jamma into the spotlight? This is a Madi Griffin M89, a literal blast from the past, and even if you're not familiar with the wild story behind this model, you probably know what it means to bring a 50 BMG to this party. Yeah, that's about the result you'd expect. Woo. At 60 frames per second, the pistol blinks out of existence and litters the hill with an impressive array of impacts. Due to circumstances out of our control, we only have one high-speed video from this eruption, but it's a good one. Remember how I called the 308 fast? This is instant. The bullet velocity is very similar, but the energy, yeah, not even close. And we're certainly not seeing the limit of it here, so what can we do to utilize more of those 13,000 foot-pounds? Line up all 8 remaining Airsoft pea shooters? Sure, yeah, why not?
Did I get him?
The rifle doesn't love extracting this cheap ammo, and the placeholder scope I had thrown on it suffered damage from the recoil, but it did swiftly decrease the remaining supply of airsoft guns, and increase the amount of trash for us to pick up. It's a spectacular rain of sparkling pistol fragments all the way across the frame. And for the grand finale, here's the explosive contact at 7,800 frames per second. The lineup disappears into varying size chunks, with anything near the impact site reduced to a microplastic vapor. I knew we wouldn't be able to top that level of destruction, but we still had a ton of guns left over and a bit of daylight remaining, so what the heck, let's keep on rolling with this kinda sorta shy-tac M200.
What? I missed, I was wrong! What the hell?
We were working with awkward downward angles, trying to ensure that the berm, or at least the mounted behind it, would catch any flyers, so a miss was bound to happen. The second try did the trick.
He kinda missed too. Yeah.
And there are some cool details like the scope exploding. But the glancing blow didn't impress as much as the last time we shot one of these with a 308. Maybe this M249-ish lookalike that feels unbelievably cheap can do better. The smoking husk of that one is pretty neat, but again the damage was relatively localized. Up next is an AR-15 style rifle, which is going to take a broadside hit. It sure looks like more force was imparted by the blast wave than by the bullet. Clearly, there are still some hangers-on left in the arsenal, including probably 24 pistols, so if anyone watching has ideas on what you'd like to see done to them, please do let us know in the comments. A handful are metal shelled or fully metal, which requires extra precautions, and they likely won't be as showy, but we intend to pick them off all the same. I have some other ideas for future videos as well, but it sure would be nice to clear up all the space that these airsoft replicas are taking up in Rob's shed. Just because, here's a bonus test shot that I felt was uncomfortably close to the berm, but the debris kicked up at least looks pretty cool.